Unfortunately, the poll only supports one language. So what will happen is that Natalie will, at the appropriate time, post into the chat the translations of the questions in the polls. So then, people would look at that and then they can then select. So yes, I see we have 3 attendees online. Maybe we can just wait a little bit for more people to get on board. Any questions from anyone at this time?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Jean-Robert Alexandre, and I'm one of the interpreters for French. How do I know that I'm in the right channel?
Natalie, can you address Jean-Robert's question? Okay, give me a moment, please. I'll just step next door to where Natalie is, so she can. Yes.
I'll chat to him directly.
Okay, excellent. Okay. So as I was saying earlier, any questions from any of the speakers?
Paul, Kim Spencer here. I am good so far. Thank you so much, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much. You're most welcome.
Hi, Paul. Please kindly check your Teams. I sent you a message.
Yes, I've just responded. This is for item 3. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Natalie, are we live with the attendees at this point?
Yes, we are.
Okay, maybe you can throw up the agenda on the background so everyone can see this. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our regional online consultation for the preparation of national reports on the implementation of the 2019 Open Educational Resources. We are currently waiting for more participants to join. So if you can be patient, that would be wonderful. I like to suggest that you turn your cameras on, and perhaps we can use this opportunity to exchange. People can interact in the meantime. We will aim to start in about 4 minutes at 7 minutes after 9.
Paul, I get a message that it says that I cannot start my video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, let me Natalie, are you online?
Excuse me, the person who just spoke?
That was Eleanor.
Go ahead.
So okay, maybe what I will do is maybe I will just go around the room, and maybe we can start with those of us who are on the screens just doing quick intros while we wait for others to join. As I said, we will start at probably about 7 minutes past 9. So right next on my immediate left, I have Dr. Tony Mays.
Good morning, everybody. I'm coming to you from my home office. I'm in Vancouver. I work for the Commonwealth of Learning.
Welcome, Tony. And I see we have a very distinguished Secretary General from the National Commission for UNESCO in Curacao, Ms. Marva Brown.
Yes, good morning to all. Happy to be here.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis contente d'être parmi vous.
Bienvenue. C'est un plaisir. Aisatu?
From Paris. I'm Aisatu, and I'm joining from Paris.
All right, excellent. Continuing along, we have Miss Kim Spencer.
Et nous avons Madame Kim Spencer.
Hello, everyone. I am joining you
Salut tout le
from
monde.
Guyana.
Je suis en Guyane.
Welcome, Ms. Spencer. Pleasure to have you here. I see we have Karine Burnett. If you can tell us where you're from and which country. Okay, while Karine Burnett gets gets her mic ready, let's move on to Ms. Zeynep Varoglu.
Hello, my name is Zeynep Varoglu. I'm from UNESCO headquarters, Paris, and I had a technical problem, so I'm joining on my phone and I can't turn on the camera. So I don't know if there's something to be done. There's another email address that I'm using to get onto this call. I'll send it to whom? Who should I send it to?
You can send it to nt.holness. Natalie Holness. Yes, she's managing. Yes, and she will let get you on. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much.
All right.
Thanks.
So the next person I have is Marushka Trump.
Hi. I'm joining from Aruba. I cannot see myself. My camera seems not to be able to work today, but hi, happy to be here.
Great. Well, welcome, Marushka. Really a pleasure to have you here. Moving along, we have Mariela Fernando.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Indeed, I am Mariela Fernando. So I have the same issue as my previous saying. I don't have the video, I don't see myself, but I can see and hear you guys.
Excellent. Are you also in Aruba?
No, I am in Curacao.
Oh, Curacao. Excellent. Really a pleasure to have you here with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. And next we have Katie De Coto.
Good morning, Kate Decoto, Ministry of Education, Grenada.
Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you here with us.
No problem.
All right, and we have Jessel Williams Walcott.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Giselle Walcott from Grenada.
Okay, pleasure to have you also. And next I see Jean, or is it Jean Small?
It's Jean.
Okay.
Yes.
Please
I'm
introduce
from
yourself.
Jamaica, born in Guyana. I'm both things. I'm born in Guyana. I'm living in Jamaica now. I'm a member of the Translators and Interpreters Association of Jamaica.
All right, so you're one of the people who is helping to make sure that we have this sort of free communication, overcoming linguistic barriers.
We'll try to do my best. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Merci aussi. Merci, monsieur.
C'est un plaisir. Yeah, and moving on, we go back to Karine Burnett. Let's see if Karine has gotten the issue. Okay, great.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Karine Burnett. I work with the Ministry of Education, Dominica. For some reason, I do not have access to my camera right now.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure that we will get that sorted out as we go along. All right. So Natalie, make and see. I don't know. See whether there's anything that can be done. Oh, and I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I'd like to also recognize Dr. Zaka, Dr. Grizel Zaka, who is in Cuba.
Doctora, para presentarse.
Sí, buenos días, mi nombre es Grisel Saca, estoy desde la sede de la UNESCO y provengo de la Universidad Virtual de Salud del Centro Nacional de Información de Ciencias Médicas de Cuba. Muchas gracias por la invitación.
Gracias, bienvenido. And also my colleague, Eleanor.
Buenos días, soy Elena Nápoles, trabajo acá en La Habana como oficial del programa de comunicación e información y hemos estado de conjunto con nuestros colegas de la sede de CENINET y otros y el colega Paul pues trabajando por organizar esta sesión. Es un placer.
Excellent. Thank you both. And moving on, I think the last person now is, we have Valentina, our Valentina Hoffman, is it?
Yes, hi, I'm Rosette Valentina Hofdam. I'm also from Curacao and I'm glad to join today.
Great. I'm very happy to see that we have such a large representation, a large delegation from Curacao. Really a pleasure to have. I see some more people have joined us. Excellent. Let's see. I see a Stephanie Daru Baron.
I see a Stephanie Daru Baron.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Daru Baron, and I'm Minister of Education, Dominica.
Dominica, excellent. And very quickly, can we have Umwati Ramdin?
Hi, good morning. Mr. Ramdin, the head of curriculum, Ministry of Education, Guyana.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so let's see. Well, perhaps what I will do is, in the interest of time, I think we'll get started with the meeting, and then perhaps a little later on we may have an opportunity to to exchange in a more personal and less formal way. So first of all, it's really a pleasure to welcome you all to this online consultation workshop for the Caribbean. As you know, the purpose of this workshop is to support the assessment of activities in the region in the areas of open education resources. And of course, it's always a pleasure to bring actors in this space together so we can share experiences, learn from each other, develop and grow. Now, before I get into the meeting, I'd just like to share, a few housekeeping tips to keep our meeting running smoothly. So first of all, please keep your mics muted, and if possible, really appreciate if you could keep your cameras on as well. As you've all realized, I hope today's meeting has interpretation support. If you go to the bottom right of your screen, you will see a little globe. And if you click on this globe, you will see a drop-down list with a number of languages. Just select the language you prefer, and you will hear in the desired language. Now we'll be conducting some polls as we go throughout the event. Unfortunately, Zoom only supports a single language in the response. So what will happen is that my colleague Natalie will paste into the chat the various translations of that poll, and then you will be able to see which corresponds, and then you can then in the main poll
No, it
fill
is
that
for
in.
the language.
Yes. Now, today's meeting has five segments. We have a first segment which consists largely of a sort of an opening of the event, where you'll have, sort of the more formal speeches. We have with us Ms. Marva Brown, Secretary General of the Curacao National Commission. My director, Dr. Anna Paulini, unfortunately is not here with us. She had some, she was traveling, and there have been some issues with the weather, so she is not able to join us today, but I will be offering remarks on her behalf. Then at the end of this section, we will have a group photo. So I hope that everyone who is online will be able to have your cameras up and running, and so we can see all of you. The next, we'll go and look at the presentation of the 2019. We have a presentation on the 2019 OER recommendation. And there, my colleague, Elena, from our UNESCO Regional Office for Culture in Latin America and the Caribbean, which is based in Havana, Cuba. She will moderate that session, and we will have a presentation by our colleague, Ms. Zeynep Varglu, Program Specialist and Coordinator for the OER Dynamic Coalition. And she's based in Paris in the UNESCO Communication Information Sector. She will give a presentation on the OER recommendation, UNESCO's work, which is going on in that area. Then next, we will come a little closer home. We will look at activities which have been taking place across the Caribbean, because this is really important information for helping us to be able to complete the assessment study. And also, it's an opportunity to hear about what's going on in different areas. Perhaps you may hear about activities that pique your interests, which perhaps may offer solutions to challenges that you have been dealing with, and of course, an opportunity for networking with others. Now, during that presentation, during that session, we will have 5 speakers. We'll have Dr. Tony Mays, who's introduced himself earlier. We'll have also Dr. Grizel Zaka, Mr. Ace Suarez, Ms. Kim Spencer, and Mr. Chaz McKendy. And so what you'll have is we'll have a sort of a regional perspective, which Tony will present. We'll have an experience from Cuba, experience from Curacao, and experience from Guyana and Haiti. So this is something which will give a fairly good representative coverage of the OER work which is going on in the region in different linguistic groups. Then, as following this, we will then move into the sort of a working session where we look at completing the questionnaire. And there we will talk about the format of the questionnaire. We'll talk about things like, where can you find information to really reflect the richness and diversity of the work that's going on. And because this is also very much a diagnostic. It's important for UNESCO, but it's even more important for countries, because by knowing the different policies which exist, by knowing the different activities, the number of persons who have benefited, who have trained, this provides an opportunity for helping countries to give their sort of strategic direction, and also to assess where they are. And then we will have a sort of Q&A. Of course, we'd like to work with you to understand, quite well, and provide any sort of needed clarifications. And then we'll go to the final session, which is the sort of next steps and closing remarks, which will be delivered by my colleague Eleanor. Now, so on the agenda, it's indicated that the next item should be the presentation by Dr. Anna Paulini. Since I'm going to be making that presentation, I'd just like to ask Ms. Marva Brown, if it's okay with her, if she could probably go ahead, since I've been speaking so much already, maybe give let's mix things up a bit. Secretary General, is that okay with you?
Sure, Paul, that's okay, no problem.
All right, thank you very much. So I will mute myself, and now we go over to Ms. Marva Brown, one of our OER champions in the region, to give her welcoming remarks. Thank you very much, Marva, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Once again, good morning to everyone, and protocol has been served. I would like to thank you once again, Paul, for the opportunity given to share with you Curaçao's interest in being a regional OER advocator to raise awareness, among other, on the importance of sustainable development, namely for quality education, which is the SDG 4, and also to ensure access to information within all levels of society and the free flow of ideas by word and image. I am sure you will agree with me that OER can play a significant role in showcasing innovative and promising practices in open educational resources, policies, and initiatives within the Caribbean. It is important that we do not forget the main types of action of the Paris Open Education Resource Declaration to facilitate understanding and use, support capacity building, reinforce strategic alliances, and encourage forward-looking actions, that these are realized, and most of all, not forgetting that this is also a support to lifelong learning and helps in building digital skills within the society. It is important for us to keep on encouraging UNESCO to increase its support to SIDS so that we can build on and replicate current successes and that best practices within the Caribbean
cette meilleure pratique dans les Caraïbes
region be heard, shared, and incorporated in a realistic SIDS action for the Caribbean. This is our opportunity to highlight our necessities, indicate gaps and concerns so as to enable more direct responses from UNESCO to our region's needs. I will not get into giving examples, as I will leave it up to Mr. A. Suarez to highlight activities undertaken by Curaçao and how various entities have reaped the benefits of OER on the island, especially in the educational area. Suplico a todos los Estados miembros y Estados miembros asociados del Grupo Cluster del Caribe y la Oficina de La Habana a que presenten sus informes sobre la recomendación a fin de mejorar la conciencia sobre el éxito y las buenas prácticas. I urge all member states and associate member states from the Caribbean Cluster and Havana office to submit your reports on the recommendation in order to improve awareness of our successes and good practices from which we can all learn. Finally, we look forward in hosting an OER, Open Educational Resource activity next year in Curaçao, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for those rousing words, and also bringing in some linguistic diversity into the event. And we look forward also to getting updates and learning more about the plans for the event in Curaçao, which you intend to organize. And I really appreciate the appeal that you've made to member states in particular to you complete the questionnaires. So at this point, what I will do is I will now give the opening remarks by Dr. Anna Paulini, and I'll read as is. Ms. Marva Brown, Secretary General of the Curacao National Commission for UNESCO, other Secretary Generals of UNESCO National Commissions, national representatives, experts and panelists, or co-organizers, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Dr. Anna Paulini, Director and Representative in the UNESCO Office for the Caribbean, and on my own behalf, it is a pleasure to welcome you to today's regional consultation for the Caribbean on the implementation of UNESCO's Open Educational Resources Recommendation. This event is jointly organized by the UNESCO Office for the Caribbean in Kingston and the UNESCO Regional Office for Culture in Latin America and the Caribbean, with, of course, the support of UNESCO headquarters. So I'm really delighted to have with us, and you've just heard the opening remarks of Ms. Marva Brown, Secretary General of the Curacao National Commission for UNESCO and a regional OER champion. Now, today's workshop is part of a series of global consultations focused on the implementation of the only existing normative instrument on the use of technologies in education. These consultations bring together stakeholders, including governments, institutions, civil society, and the private sector. It is also very timely. Digital content has become essential for learning, highlighting the importance of OER for knowledge sharing and accelerating the delivery of quality educational resources. In November 2019, almost in a prophetic-like manner, just a few moments before the COVID-19 pandemic brought global education systems to a halt, UNESCO's member states adopted the OER recommendation. This normative instrument identifies actions in 5 strategic areas to ensure that the power of OER could be harnessed to support quality learning and knowledge sharing. These 5 areas of action are: 1, building the capacity of stakeholders to create, access, reuse, adapt, and redistribute OER. Secondly, developing supportive policies. Thirdly, promoting inclusive and equitable quality OER to, of course, ensure that no one is left behind. Fourth, fostering the creation of sustainability models for OER. And finally, 5th, facilitating international cooperation. Now, the recommendation provides a clear definition of open educational resources. It defines these open educational resources as learning, teaching, and research materials in any format and in any medium that reside in the public domain or are under copyright, which have been released under an open license that permits no cost access, no cost reuse, repurposing, adaptation, and this redistribution by others. It is important to underline, however, that the recommendation fully respects the intellectual property rights of authors and creators. Ladies and gentlemen, during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, OER demonstrated its transformative power in ensuring continuity of formal and informal learning when online and digital learning became the new normal. This unprecedented education disruption, the worst in human history, taught us how important it is for the global community to anticipate future crises that may impact teaching, teaching and learning. So we must ensure the systematic and sustainable integration of these good practices which we have learned for knowledge sharing and learning in the post-COVID-19 era. So it is therefore essential that the global community act together to make universal access to information and knowledge through OER a reality. We must make our education systems flexible and responsive, resilient to disruptions, and capable to continue delivering on the right to education for all. So the good news, though, is that the silver lining in this pandemic, which actually cost our societies and economies so much, was the learning opportunity it presented. And part of this involved highlighting the power of openness. Now, OER is actually the very expression of cooperation and solidarity that United Nations Secretary General has called for to overcome development challenges. OERs developed by one education system, by one country, can be shared with others, enabling them to concentrate their efforts on creating new resources that they can also in turn share, rather than on reinventing the wheel. Now, the Transforming Education Summit that took place at the UN headquarters in September of earlier this year underscored the key role of open educational content for ensuring quality open educational platforms. UNESCO's OER recommendation, which is the only UN standard-setting instrument in the area of open educational content, is certainly key to the implementation and realization of the summit's call for action, including its special initiative, Gateways to Public Digital Learning. This summit recognized OER's ability to unlock digital and distance learning and selected OER as a priority area for helping to implement these goals. OER also supports the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And effective integration of OER can enhance inclusive and quality education, which relates, of course, to SDG 4. It can support gender equality, which relates to SDG 5. It can also foster innovation, SDG 9, and reduce inequalities, SDG 10. So clearly, OER and the OER recommendation are certainly key to advancing socioeconomic development and well-being. So against this backdrop, it is truly important that member states report on the implementation of the OER recommendation. The survey, approved by UNESCO's Executive Board, facilitates this process. As stipulated in the circular letter from UNESCO's Director General sent to all member states, all national commissions, this survey should be completed as soon as possible and by 31st January 2023 at the very latest. Now, today's workshop has three objectives. Firstly, to share experiences that can help Caribbean SIDS implement the OER recommendation. Secondly, to offer practical guidance to member states in responding to the survey on implementing the OER recommendation. And thirdly, to share information on OER initiatives and resources. Now, the workshop's discussions and the survey and the responses to them will help identify strategies to implement the OER recommendation and ensure that the specific needs, concerns, and opportunities for the Caribbean are clearly articulated and also addressed. It will also identify networks. It will identify resources that countries can tap into. So this assessment exercise is extremely important. And my UNESCO colleagues, the other experts here, and I are here to support you and provide guidance in this process. This support, we hope, will ensure an accurate assessment of the state of the art globally and also nationally within each country on the use of OER. These insights will enable UNESCO to design more effective actions for the Caribbean. So we trust that today's workshop will enable all Caribbean SIDS. I repeat, we trust that today's workshop will enable all Caribbean SIDS to complete and submit their very important national surveys. So I wish you every success and fruitful collaboration as we leverage OER to co-create knowledge for the Caribbean's prosperity and well-being. Thank you for your attention. So that was the intervention which Dr. Anna Paolini had intended to deliver to you. So we have now finished the opening session and we're a little behind time, but I think it's very important for us to have that group photo. So I'd like to request everyone to please turn on your cameras. Natalie, if you can take that picture, please. Let's see, Natalie.
Waiting for everybody to turn on their camera.
Yes, can everyone have their cameras on, please? And let's have a big smile. You know, we're doing great things here. OERs, helping to enhance the socioeconomic development of our countries, creating better futures for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren to come. I see there's a question from Karine. Karine Burnett, please go ahead.
Yes, good day again.
Hmm.
We do not have any option for turning on our cameras, and also the chat is disabled. So,
Okay. I think in the bottom left screen, you should see the video. Can you, let's see, Natalie, is it possible for you to activate the cameras for everyone so that we can all be here in this screenshot?
Sure, hold on.
Okay. And just to, following this, we will have the second session where my colleague Zeynep, so Eleanor will be moderating and Zeynep will be presenting the recommendation and also sharing some more background. Let's see. Zeynep, are you on now, or do you still need? Should I still someone upload your presentation, or is it fine now?
I would need someone to upload it. No, it's not fine. I need someone to upload the presentation, please, because
Okay.
I have to connect through my phone.
Okay, all right.
But
So
I'm
I will.
here.
Okay. Okay, no problem. I will try this to open it and share my screen. If you can just resend it very quickly so it's at the top of my email list, that will be great, please. And then I will do that. All right, Natalie, any luck with the cameras?
Yes, I turned them on.
Okay, Karine, everyone, can you try turning on your cameras again, please?
I still don't have the option of turning on my camera.
Okay, and in the bottom left.
In the bottom left, all I have is the option to mute and unmute myself.
Okay.
Oh, because they're all attendees.
it's not available.
Okay, okay, my mistake.
I would have to promote them to panelists.
Okay.
Is that what you require?
We can see only the panelists.
Okay. All right. I guess we're a small group. If it's not too much of an inconvenience.
No, just give me a few minutes.
Right.
Moving them
All
over.
right. All right. So thank you everyone for your kind indulgence and patience. Okay, and while we wait, just confirming to you, Zeynep, that I've received your presentation. I'm opening up the right one. And yes.
Anybody moving over yet? Okay, there we go.
Okay, good. And I'm very happy to see that we're now up to something like we were just up to 34 participants. So great. So hopefully we have I see we have something like for attendees. So we have, many more countries coming on. That's really, really important because, this activity, it's really for you. It's for you, the member states. We're here to support you. And so, it really, we're very happy to see that, so many of you have come out and are here with us for this.
A couple persons not moving over as yet. Just give them a couple minutes.
I have moved over and I'm trying to start the video. It says you cannot.
No, you have to. You have to wait.
Okay.
Yes, you have to wait until I switch over and then give you access.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to move everybody over first.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your patience, and perhaps maybe at this time, anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to introduce themselves, perhaps you can just say a few words, which country you're from, the organization, ministry, department that you represent, just a few brief words of introduction. So if you unmute yourself, then you will be able to do that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marcelia Henry, Secretary General from CIMAT National Commission for UNESCO. And it's a pleasure to be here as soon as I have the capability of being able to be on video and also be able to see virtually. So I look forward to a great dialogue today and look forward to the wonderful presentations by all. Thank you.
Yes, real pleasure to have you, SG. Yes, thank you. Who will go next? Who wants to go next?
My name is Kendra Robertson from Dominica. I'm part of the Learning Support Advisory Team in the Ministry of Education.
Wonderful, pleasure to have you here with us. Who's next? What about, let me start picking on people. What about Helen Hasburn? Did we hear from Mariela Fernando earlier?
This is me. I am from Curacao for the Ministry of General.
Welcome, pleasure to have you. And I see Ramses Petronia.
Hi there, good morning. My name is Ramses Petronia from the Bureau for Intellectual Property of Curacao. I work there as a jurist.
Pleasure to have you. As I said earlier, you know, Curacao is one of the regional champions in OER, and I can see that by the participation. Let's see, I see Fernando Ortega from MINED in Cuba.
Bueno, mi nombre es Fernando Ortega, soy el director de tecnología del Ministerio de Educación de la República de Cuba y es un placer poder compartir este espacio de intercambio de aprendizaje con todos ustedes.
Pleasure to have you also. Yes. All right, Natalie, have you done your magic? Have you made your magic? Is everyone able to? All right.
I'm trying to put everybody on one screen, but you guys aren't cooperating.
Yes, maybe we have to switch. So let's try to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So if everyone can turn your cameras on, and then perhaps maybe later on during the day we will we can maybe try this again. Yes.
Right. Hold on. Getting my snipping tool. Ready?
All right. And let's
it will be 2 because it's 2 pages.
All right. So maybe okay, great. So is it maybe you can do a countdown for people, you know?
3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year.
0.
First one. All right.
All right.
Let me save that one.
All right. And let's do the next page.
Another one, the next page.
And please, you don't know which page you're on. So
yes, so
Vous ne
smile.
savez pas quelle page est-ce que vous utilisez, donc
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Merci.
All right. Excellent. So great.
Donc, très bien.
So now we're going to move straight into
Nous
session 2.
allons commencer avec la deuxième session.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen right away so that we have this up. Let me.
I'm back.
All right.
I'm here.
All right. Zainab, am I on the right page?
I can't see the page.
Okay. Is anyone seeing my screen?
Not as yet.
Okay.
No,
No,
not as
no la
yet.
no la estamos viendo.
Okay, let's give it a moment. Is it appearing yet?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You want
Okay,
me to run over to you, Paul?
Yes. Okay. If
I'm
you
coming.
could. Okay. Okay. In the meantime, let me just try again.
Pendant ce temps,
Yes.
je vais
Voilà.
essayer.
Now we're seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay. You're seeing implementing the UNESCO OER recommendation.
Yes.
L'implémentation, la mise en
Okay.
œuvre
Yeah.
de la
I
recommandation
yes, I got it.
de
So
ressources libres pour
yeah, thank you.
l'éducation.
Yes. Oh, folks, I'm so sorry. We were supposed to do that poll. Yeah. Anyway, please let us continue. Zainab, over to you and Eleanor.
Okay. Elena, please. Go ahead.
Hola, buen día de nuevo. Tras esta primera sesión también bueno, de escuchar las palabras de partida de la Comisión Nacional de Curazao, también de la dirección de la oficina de Kingston y de tomar esta foto. Bueno, vamos a entrar en materia o continuar con un
Go to the bottom, right?
inicial sobre la recomendación de la UNESCO sobre recursos educativos abiertos. Este es el gran marco que guía nuestras acciones, lo que ofrece un espacio para guiar las acciones de los Estados miembros para el desarrollo de estos recursos educativos abiertos. Entonces, también en función del tiempo, que vamos un poquito atrasados, les propongo directamente escuchar la intervención de nuestra colega Zeynep Baroglu, quien es especialista del programa de comunicación e información, nos acompaña desde nuestra sede en París y al mismo tiempo es coordinadora de la coalición dinámica de recursos educativos abiertos. Entonces, Zeynep, te damos la palabra directamente. Gracias.
Thank you, Elena. I will start with the first slide. Thank you for your introduction. Indeed, my name is Zeynep Varoglu. I'm in the Communication and Information Sector at UNESCO headquarters. I can't put on my camera because if I could, I would, but I can't. It doesn't allow me, so we'll just go with the slides. Could we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so my first point is going to be why we're here, why we're doing this, why this matters. The reason we're working in the area of open educational resources is because it's in the framework of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was written way before there was the word OER in our vocabulary, but the principles are there. In particular, it's Article 19 that I'm referring to. It's the right to receive and impart information and ideas through any media, regardless of frontiers. And of course, Article 26, the right to education. The work of UNESCO in this area is also linked to its constitutional commitment to the free exchange of ideas and knowledge, which supports the sharing of knowledge using technologies. Next slide, please. So you have to click again when it comes. Yes. So the recommendation looks like that. Well, actually, it looks a little bit different on the screen now because they updated the site of Legal Affairs. But on the site of Legal Affairs of UNESCO, if you type in the title and Legal Affairs UNESCO, you'll come up with the official text. It's available in all 6 UN languages as a PDF, and that is what we will be talking about today. On the right side of your screen, which would you mind clicking? Yes, on the right side of your screen is a list which is difficult to see. It's on purpose because it's to show that there is only about 12 recommendations since 1989 in similar areas. And the the message below this slide is simply that to underscore that a recommendation is a UNESCO normative instrument. It's one of two main types of normative instruments that UNESCO has as an intergovernmental body with 193 member states. There are conventions, which you are probably aware of, especially, for example, the conventions for cultural heritage or conventions for the recognition of qualifications, and recommendations. A recommendation is semantically what it means. It's a recommendation that member states take a certain number of actions in an area, and then the text is agreed upon down to the last comma and period by 193 member states. And the process is that it's then adopted by consensus, and member states are asked to report on the implementation of this recommendation every 4 years. So this is one of UNESCO has 3 recommendations in the area of communication information, and this is one of them. Next slide, please. So you see on your slide, could you click again, please? And again. You see on your slide the definition. This is really important because especially during COVID, we've had a lot of gray zone come into the discussion, and the definition of OER is not gray. It's really quite black and white, like this slide. It's open educational resources are learning, teaching, research materials in any format that are in the public domain or under copyright that has been released under an open license. And that means that they are allowed to be that are permitted at no cost to be accessed, reused, repurposed, adapted, and redistributed. And then in the text of the recommendation, there is a definition of open license. And it underscores that an open license respects the intellectual property rights of the copyright owner and grants the rights to access, reuse, repurpose, adapt, redistribute educational materials. Now, what's really important here is that it has to be actually on an open license to be an OER. It's not enough that something is available for free on a website, because the default in copyright law is if you have a document and there's nothing on it, there is no copyright statement, nothing, then it's copyrighted. In order for it to be on an open license, it has to state that it's an open license. During COVID, there were a lot of instances where entities were giving away free educational resources, but they were copyrighted. They did not allow for people to access. Well, the access was given for free by the person who owned it, but they couldn't legally be repurposed, adapted, and redistributed by others because they were not on an open license. So this is a very, very key point, and it's become a little bit fuzzy in discussions, but this is what we're talking about in this instance. Next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Again, I have to keep clicking. Okay, so you see on your screen a very large list of people who are on the screen. It's the stakeholders of the recommendation. You'll see it's a large list. It's beyond the typical normal, if you like, it's beyond the educational community. It includes, of course, the educational community, teachers, learners, governmental bodies, institutions, but it also includes cultural institutions such as libraries, archives, and museums, and information and communication technology professionals, publishers, copyright holders, media broadcasting groups, etc. So the work in this recommendation is about knowledge sharing, and it recognizes that it's a very large community. But the document is adopted by governments. And it is the responsibility of the governments to decide how it would be used, of course, and it is an intergovernmental instrument. Next slide, please. On your screen, you see what an open license, an example of the typical open license that's used the most widely in the world. It's a Creative Commons license, and you have on your screen the different levels of these licenses in terms of those which give the most rights to the users to the least rights. The top is, of course, public domain, and this below that you have it's a Creative Commons license, and it's the only thing that's requested is that the user recognizes the authors. So, for example, on this slide, its slide is from Dr. Cable Green, who is at Global Learning Creative Commons, and it recognizes that he has done this. He's the copyright holder, but he has allowed us to share it. On the right side of your screen, you have 3 rectangles, and that represents the 3 levels of an open license. So a Creative Commons open license. So at the top, it's machine readable. There's a barcode. Secondly, it's human readable. There's this text like the one I just showed you, and there's a legal code behind it. Next slide, please. As you may know, UNESCO has an open access policy. That means that at UNESCO, when we have a document, unless there's an extremely good reason, and it has to be really good, it's available on an open license. So if you look on the screen, you see the one just above the type of document book. Above, you have CC by SA, and this is an open license. It shows that this publication, the ICT Competency Framework for Teachers, is available on an open license, and it's an open license that asks that UNESCO be of course recognized as the copy, as the author, and that it be shared alike. So it be shared also on the same license. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like inside the book, just to give you an idea. You have here the open license, you have the explanation here. So just to underscore that this is what we're speaking about right now. Next slide, please. What's inside this recommendation? Well, there are 5 basic areas. It's not a very long recommendation, frankly, compared to other ones that are out in circulation, but it is very dense. It's very straight to the point, if you like. There are 5 areas of action in which governments are recommended to take actions. The first one is capacity building, and a summary. I've provided on the slide a summary of what these areas are. So the summary of this area is about the first point, 1A, if you like, is that stakeholders should understand the added value of OER. So awareness raising that such a thing exists, and it has the added value of ensuring really the sharing of knowledge and the creation of knowledge and the building of knowledge in an open manner. Second point is that stakeholders should have the capacity and know-how, including digital skills, to create, access, reuse, redistribute OER. And the third point points towards openly licensed tools and platforms, and their use to find OER easily. And finally, there is a discussion on interoperation, metadata, and standards. The second point is on policy. So we're just talking about procurement models that reflect the need for open licensing. This is a discussion that has been going on since at least 2011. And it's the principle that if taxpayers give their taxes, and these taxes are used to purchase textbooks, then these textbooks should be provided back to them on an open license and freely, because they've already paid for it, basically. So making sure that this is one principle, and then guidelines and standards that at the national and institutional level. So we're talking about policies and incentives at governmental and institutional levels for the creation, access, reuse, and adaptation of OER. incentives for teachers, professional development, use and creation of OER, alignment to other open policies. As you know, we have discussions on open access to scientific journals, open data, open source software, open science, and many institutions and many governments are actually making policies in these areas. So to include open educational resources in this area is called for in this recommendation, and of course, data protection. The third area, right in the heart of it, is kind of, it's hard to give one word to it because it's several concepts. It's about quality assurance, multilingualism, inclusive OER. So in terms of languages, to make sure that OER is available in languages other than those that are just most predominant on the internet, for example, English and Chinese, that is accessible for persons with disabilities and vulnerable groups and offline if necessary. Support for public infrastructures for OER accessibility. And of course, this is really important that the quality of OER is as good, if not better, than the same resources available on that are not on an open license. Then in terms of the fourth area, it's sustainability. And here, in a nutshell, it's about the principle that the end users, that is teachers and learners, don't shoulder the cost of the learning materials, and incentives for stakeholders to use OER to be enhanced. The fifth point is about international cooperation on the first 4 points, which I just outlined. And it's about cooperation on each of the 4 points at the sectoral level, at the regional level, at the geographical level. And it is the basis for the OER Dynamic Coalition, which we started in 2020 to share information and to have collaboration between different stakeholders. We will put the address of the OER Dynamic Coalition form if you'd like to join us and be updated and also share information on your activities. We'd be very, very honored. Next slide, please. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, super. So today we're talking about the monitoring process. The monitoring process is part of the regular process for recommendations. In June 2022, there was a letter sent, until June last summer, there was a letter sent by the Director General to ministers responsible for relations with UNESCO of all member states. It was copied to the delegations and to the national commissions, and it's on our website, and I will put the link to this letter and discuss it more in a second. Right now, we're in the period where member states are requested to submit their reports on this, on their implementation of this recommendation in English or French. When the deadline is the 31st of January. In the next, what will happen when we receive the reports is that we will make a consolidation of the findings that we receive. We will make a report. It will go to the Executive Board of UNESCO. This is the Governing Council of UNESCO in November 2023, just before the next General Conference, which is just after around November, December 2023. And the report to the Executive Board will be commented, and these comments and the report will be given to the General Conference of UNESCO, and the information on the global activities on OER will be shared with 193 member states in the fall, winter of 2023. So it's really important that this report comes in and it reflects the really important work that you're doing and shows the vibrancy of the Caribbean region in this in the activities undertaken so far. So the next slide, please. The next slide is I think I'm making reference to points which were brought up in the speech of the director of UNESCO Kingston. This is OER since its adoption in 2019. It has been really brought up to the UN level, especially in the report of the Secretary General on digital cooperation. And next slide, please. there is a reference to open content and digital public goods, and OER is it is the essence of digital public goods. So the work that we're doing together, it's really important. It's part of a larger global process. And I know that the Caribbean region is very active, so it's really very exciting. Next slide, please. Again, this is echoing the speech of the director of UNESCO Kingston. It was part of the outcomes of the Transforming Education Summit at the UN General Assembly held into last September. And in the outcome document of this summit, there was this recommendation was actually cited as an important instrument. Next slide, please. So this is what the invitation looks like. This is the link. I'll put it in, and it based in this chat. I can't put it in the chat, but perhaps someone can put it in the chat. And it was cited. This is the request to member states to respond to this questionnaire. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like when you open it. When you click on the link, you go and you open the attachment. There's a letter from the Director General, and then the questionnaire text is in the annex. After the presentations, I will go through the inside of the questionnaire in more depth. But just to underscore that now the next session is on the important work that's being done in the Caribbean, and I think this is the sort of information that would be really important to share in the reports, because I know that we have a number of initiatives that will be presented, but because of time restraints, we can't have every initiative presented. But there are so many more, and so this is the sort of information that's requested in this document. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Super, thanks. There is a link here for the OER Dynamic Coalition. We'll put that into the report, into the chat also. And you're very welcome to join us and have more information about global activities, regional activities, activities in different parts, in different sectors. If you'd like, by signing up through the link here. And if you'd like to have more information, my address is on the slide also. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Elena.
Muchas gracias, Zeynep. Muchas gracias por este encuadre, el contenido de la presentación. Y quería preguntar si hay alguna pregunta concreta, pequeña, sobre la primera intervención de Zeynep. No veo ninguna mano levantada. Bueno, de todas maneras, tenemos el resto de la sesión y en cualquier momento ustedes pueden por el chat hacer sus preguntas o eventualmente levantar la mano para buscar algún tipo de precisión. Yo creo entonces que podemos, después de este primer momento de entender cuáles son estos marcos que la recomendación nos ofrece, pues pasar a la segunda sesión, Paul, si te parece. Y adentrarnos un poco en las experiencias particulares de los países. Si están de acuerdo, yo tengo acá a mi izquierda a la doctora Grisel Saca, quien es una de nuestras panelistas. Entonces, quisiera empezar. Sí. ¿Perdón? No sé si alguien habló. Bueno, en este caso, entonces, lo que proponía era entrar en la siguiente sesión, que va a explorar las experiencias concretas que los países han ido acumulando en la implementación, en el desarrollo de iniciativas de recursos educativos abiertos. Y como tengo a mi izquierda, aquí en la sala, a la doctora Grisel Saca de Cuba, pues me permito entonces comenzar con ella. Y si nos pueden ir ayudando, Paul, en ir poniendo su presentación, en lo que yo voy presentando a la doctora. Igual nosotros la tenemos desde acá, también podemos compartir pantalla.
Give me one moment, please. Yes.
De acuerdo. Bueno, les decía, la doctora... Sí. La doctora es la coordinadora, es doctora en Ciencias de la Información por la Universidad de La Habana y la Universidad de Granada. Ella es estomatóloga, es máster en Investigaciones en Servicios de Salud por la Universidad de Rotterdam, Holanda, máster en Bibliotecología y Ciencias de la Información de la Universidad de La Habana, como yo decía, especialista en estomatología general integral, diplomada en Gestión de Información de Salud, profesora titular e investigadora titular también. Y en este momento, la doctora Saca coordina, es la coordinadora nacional de una experiencia que es la Universidad Virtual de Salud, y que pertenece al Departamento de Docencia e Investigación del Centro Nacional de Información de Ciencias Médicas, Infomed. Entonces, doy la palabra a la doctora Saca para que inicie esta ronda de intercambio de experiencias en los países de la región. Voy a el Zoom incluso a ponerlo para que ustedes tengan más la imagen de ella. Adelante.
Muchas gracias por darme la oportunidad de participar en este encuentro que consideramos de vital importancia para avanzar en materia de educación abierta en nuestra región. La próxima, por favor. Bueno, nuestra Universidad Virtual de Salud no es un sitio, no es una institución. Es una red de instituciones académicas, ya sea universidades de ciencias médicas, facultades, institutos nacionales, institutos de referencia, y que trabajamos en función de la educación a distancia con un modelo que denominamos aprendizaje en red. La siguiente, por favor. Tenemos básicamente 4 líneas de desarrollo que van desde la virtualización de la enseñanza hasta la capacitación, la gestión de información y conocimiento. La próxima, por favor. ¿Me podemos moverla de aquí? No. Y nuestra segunda línea de desarrollo más amplia es precisamente la educación abierta, donde incluimos los recursos educativos abiertos en distintos formatos y las prácticas educativas abiertas, que son todas estas prácticas que se desarrollan en torno a la gestión, la creación y el uso de estos recursos educativos. La próxima, por favor. La próxima. Desde el año 2011-2012 declaramos los principios de la política de la Universidad Virtual de Salud, y dentro de estos está de manera implícita el desarrollo de los recursos educativos abiertos a través, por ejemplo, de la educación permanente de nuestro personal de salud, o de manera explícita, como por ejemplo, que la organización abierta y carácter público de la información de nuestra universidad virtual se basa, por ejemplo, en el movimiento de recursos educativos abiertos. La capacitación de los profesores en aprendizaje en red incluye también lo relacionado con el desarrollo de los recursos, pero también explícitamente promocionamos, o nuestra política incluye el depósito o autoarchivo de estos recursos y la calidad de estos recursos. O sea que nuestra política está encaminada a desarrollar todo lo relacionado con los recursos educativos abiertos. Próxima, por favor. Nosotros consideramos desde hace más de 15 años el criterio o el concepto de la UNESCO. Próxima diapositiva. El concepto de la UNESCO de recursos educativos abiertos y potenciamos o promovemos la intencionalidad educativa que deben tener estos recursos que son creados en función de la educación médica. Y también promocionamos que se incluya la experiencia del profesor. La próxima. Nuestro portal de la Universidad Virtual tiene una organización abierta y se construye de manera descentralizada. Tiene distintos espacios que promueven la gestión de los recursos educativos y la creación, ya sea para posgrado, para pregrado o para el aprendizaje permanente o a lo largo de la vida de los profesionales y el personal de salud en general. Próxima, por favor. Los recursos educativos abiertos de la Universidad Virtual radican en muchos de estos servicios en distintos formatos como presentaciones interactivas. Estas presentaciones vienen de un servicio anterior que le llamábamos Supercurso, que no era más que una colección de presentaciones, teniendo en cuenta que nos movemos en un entorno de escasos recursos tecnológicos y que muchas veces nos es más factible utilizar recursos de bajo costo y que, por ejemplo, son menos pesados, como las presentaciones, que muchas veces desarrollar otros más complejos, como pueden ser los videos educativos. También tenemos una clínica virtual con la intención de crear recursos que apoyen el desarrollo del método clínico en nuestro personal. Tenemos directorio de cursos, tenemos un catálogo de obras audiovisuales y otras formas de materiales para la docencia que se comparten de manera abierta. Por supuesto, un repositorio para facilitar la búsqueda y recuperación de estos recursos. Adelante, la próxima, por favor. Les hablo de repositorio de recursos educativos, un servicio que tiene más de 15 años también, donde este espacio se convierte en el almacén de estos recursos, pero además facilita la búsqueda y recuperación con formatos preferiblemente que permitan la reutilización, la remezcla, la adaptación a nuevos contextos educativos. La próxima, por favor. El aula virtual de salud es nuestro principal proyecto que permite el desarrollo de la formación en línea y la aprovechamos también en función de la educación abierta con los cursos que quedan completamente disponibles en el formato de curso abierto. También tenemos objetos de aprendizaje y otros recursos que son accesibles de manera abierta y gratuita. La próxima. La próxima, por favor. El repositorio de recursos educativos incluye metadatos que están elaborados con base al estándar Long Learning Object Metadata, que permite la interoperabilidad. Y también promovemos el uso de, mediante estos metadatos de este repositorio, el uso de licencias abiertas como las Creative Commons, que sabemos que son, digamos, el corazón de este movimiento de recursos educativos abiertos. La próxima. Como les hablaba, tenemos una clínica virtual donde se comparten casos clínicos en modalidades de estudios de casos, discusión diagnóstica y clínico-patológica. algunas prácticas educativas abiertas como las preguntas a expertos o los ejercicios interactivos y también galerías de imágenes que por lo general se construyen respondiendo a programas de estudios como por ejemplo pregrado en dermatología o posgrado en coloproctología. La próxima. Bueno, la Universidad Virtual de Salud se coordina desde su sede central, desde el Centro Nacional de Información de Ciencias Médicas, donde se desarrolla la base tecnológica de la red de salud. Nosotros tenemos disponible la Biblioteca Virtual de Salud, donde aparecen colecciones como los de los libros, colecciones de revistas, de tesis, que permiten el desarrollo de los recursos educativos, ya sea por la contextualización o por la creación de nuevos recursos. También desde nuestros centros desarrollamos a nivel nacional la ciencia abierta desde la editorial de Ciencias Médicas, donde se inserta el recurso educativo dentro de este movimiento, además de las revistas de acceso abierto. La próxima, por favor. Bueno, desde el año 2005 creamos el repositorio de recursos educativos, aunque desde antes ya teníamos algunos recursos disponibles y algunos servicios que facilitaban socializar estos recursos. La línea de educación abierta continúa permanentemente en desarrollo, pero estamos previendo, por ejemplo, para el próximo año desarrollar un proyecto de investigación que es el Sistema de Gestión de Calidad para la Red Académica de la Universidad Virtual de Salud, donde está incluida también la educación abierta con los recursos educativos abiertos. Y entre las cosas que están previstos desarrollar o resultados previstos está la validación de documentos metodológicos y de evaluación que garantice la eficiencia y la calidad en materia de educación abierta. Recientemente empezamos a desarrollar otra idea que es un curso para desarrollar competencias en la creación y gestión de recursos educativos abiertos. La próxima. Bueno, también la capacitación es permanente. Próxima diapositiva, por favor. La capacitación es permanente. Desarrollamos también eventos que potencien la concientización en cuanto a los recursos educativos abiertos. Próxima diapositiva. Bueno, les sigo comentando. Tenemos las jornadas de aprendizaje en red, donde se comparten conferencias, ponencias y debates que incluyen los recursos educativos abiertos, y nos insertamos en el mes de marzo, desde hace ya más de 10 años, en los eventos que se desarrollan en torno a la Semana de Educación Abierta, donde además de concientizar, aprovechamos para que se compartan algunos recursos que van a parar a nuestros repositorios. La próxima. Y bueno, pensamos que la clave la tienen los profesores, que son capaces de concientizar a los directivos, pero también involucrar a los estudiantes en la creación y uso de estos recursos, y nuestro reto es lograr un cambio de cultura en los profesores y en las instituciones hacia las prácticas educativas abiertas que permitan la participación activa y la construcción colectiva. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a la doctora Grisel por compartir esta experiencia. Yo quisiera proponerles que mejor tengamos en todo caso una ronda de preguntas al final de la sesión. Vamos a escuchar primero las intervenciones, si les parece, y después podemos, porque a lo mejor puede haber elementos que son comunes a las diferentes intervenciones. Entonces, en ese sentido, quisiera darle la palabra en este momento al señor Ace Suárez de Curazao. Y mientras lo presento de nuevo, bueno, pues les pido ir o compartiendo pantalla en el caso que lo haga el mismo, o por favor, si tú me puedes ayudar. Asa Suárez es un emprendedor social, un altruista y también un representante del sector de las ONGs. Es un experto en ciencias de la computación durante varios años ya, y durante varios años, como decía, y todavía en el presente está explorando e implementando maneras de facilitar el desarrollo, sobre todo de la juventud que tiene menos privilegios y que accede a menos privilegios. En Curazao. Los proyectos en los que ha trabajado incluyen, por ejemplo, iniciativas asociadas a proveer a la juventud con acceso a Internet y capacitación sobre manejo de la computadora, de la ciencia de la computación, proyectos asociados a la educación en ciencia, tecnología, matemáticas e ingenierías, STEM, el desarrollo de plataformas para que se puedan compartir fotos y recursos en papiamento para la comunidad educativa, y también el desarrollo de una herramienta educativa sobre los monumentos para los niños y las niñas. Entonces, queremos darle entonces la palabra a Suárez para que nos comparta su experiencia en estos años. Adelante.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I am greeting everyone in their own capacity. I have COVID. 5 days ago, I was diagnosed with COVID. I'm still a bit sick. I'm in my pajamas. I'm going to close the camera, and I'd like to share my screen. Did you hear all of that? No? Why? Hello?
We can hear you, but we don't see the screen.
No, because I have COVID. Actually, this morning I was still in bed, coughing and sneezing, and Marva called me, hey, do you know we have a presentation today? And I was even not aware of that, because I was in bed the past 5 days. But I want to share my screen. Is it possible? I cannot share my video now. I can share my screen. Is that okay? Hello?
It should be possible for you to share your screen.
Okay, I tried now to share my screen. Entire screen. Allow.
Yes, we're seeing your screen now.
Okay, we see Cucho and Hanshina di Otrobanda.
Yes, we're seeing it.
Okay, so now I can begin. Welcome everybody. We're talking about open educational resources in Curacao. Of course, I was honored to be invited at the first workshop of Open OER. I think in 2019 or 2017, Secretary General Marva knows. I forgot when it was. At that time, I was giving a lecture about copyright and copyleft, which is totally not my subject, but I'm very happy we today have Mr. Ramses Petronia with us from the Bureau of Intellectual Property, and I know I'm very happy that he is involved with this project now. So the real things about copyright and copyleft can be explained by him in the future, and that's much better than I do it because I'm really an amateur in that part. But that said, you can see here Cucho den Hanchinang di Otrobanda. Otrobanda is a part of Willemstad, the capital of Curacao, and it's part of the World Heritage thing. So the entire city of Willemstad is part of the World Heritage. The monuments, about 600 monuments in there, are part of that. And we made a tool for kids, and that they can use it together with Monumentenzorg Curaçao. And also the National Commission was involved in this project. I doubt if there ever was a payment made, Marva, but there was a bit of miscommunication about this project. Anyway, it's a very nice project. It's accessible for free. And if you go to the next page, you will see one of the typical streets in Willemstad. There are all kinds of words which are interactive, like Loes de Kaya and here Pushy. And actually, if you click on them, you can hear the Pushy. It tells you what the sound is. Pushy. Also, there's a whole story like about this little guy Cucho who is running to the town. Cucho tinghantinan di otro banda. Maitayama. It's a very interesting story told by Laura Cross, a very famous actor in Curacao, and it's really nice for kids. It's in Dutch and Papiamento. The problem is that all the pictures are copyrighted. They are made by the late Ariadne Faris. She has passed away, unfortunately, 2 years ago. And so it's not really an open educational resource because you cannot take the source and adapt it and make something else of it. But it's a free educational resource, so that's pretty good. I will go to the next thing, which is called Banco de Palabra. It's a bank of words. It should contain all the words in Papiamento, and you can look up a word, and then you can find some information about it, like a picture. You can also hear the word text. And there is also a link to Wikipedia. So it takes information from the Papiamento version of Wikipedia. The thing about this is that it does have nice games. For instance, let me choose this one. So now we can do the famous memory game, yeah, and it's very nice to learn for the kids. And also you could do, and this is much more interesting, a word and a picture. So you can look. Oh, this is a dove, but it's obviously not the Aladunu. So maybe this one is it. Yeah, I got it. So at least we can play around with it. This is still in development, but this will definitely be an open educational resource in which the teachers can choose their own pictures and then make their own game with a certain set of pictures. And also you could choose if you want to have Papiamento words or English words or Spanish words. So that's an open educational resource, but it's still in development. We all do it with no money at all. It's a pity. Then I'm going to the next one, which is open content for education. It's a project that we submitted to the UNESCO participation program 4 or 5 years ago. Unfortunately, we were not chosen, although I would say it would be a very good fit very well in the UNESCO guidelines, but okay. The cities are being made. Later, we got money from the Prince Bernhard Cultural Fund. The open content for education aims at adding pictures to the Banco de Palabra, and those pictures are licensed under an open license. Some of the pictures are licensed for non-commercial use, so in schools they may use it easily, and some are licensed as CC0 or public domain, so everybody can use them. And the last version of the license is also, you can use it for Wikipedia, but the license, the non-commercial, the CC by NC, you cannot use in Wikipedia, which is a pity, and now we try to take only photos that are licensed CC0 or public domain. We have several videos here in Papimento about certain aspects of this project. There is also Mr. Ramses Petronia, who is explaining everything about copyright. These pictures, they are, for instance, here in the Galleria di Fauna, and there you will see 100 pictures of animals in Curacao with their name next to it, Barbulete Blau y Blanco. And you can click on it and they will be much bigger, and the copyright is from Michel Pos da Costa Gomes, a famous nature photographer in our country. And this one is CC by NCSA, which means non-commercial. But if you go back to the music gallery, let me look there, here. And then, for instance, we can see the famous Agan. This is the Agan. And if you look at that, the license is CC by SA 3.0, which means it can be used in Wikipedia. And we do have a Papimento Wikipedia. It's still very much in development. There should be much more effort to fill that Wikipedia. But from our project, Open Content for Education, we could use a picture that was not in the Wikipedia. We could use our picture because the picture was licensed in the right way. So we have Cuccio, and that's a very nice educational tool. Where also there's also a game in there, but the pictures, the images cannot be used by others because they are heavily copyrighted. We have the gallery for open content and education, and we have, of course, the Wikipedia. If there's any questions, I would like to hear them. Was it clear?
Hello, Kim Spencer, Guyana. Quick question. I noticed that the gallery is not in English. Is it also available for English-speaking countries so that we can also use these, or it is just strictly in Spanish? Thank you.
En este momento no lo escuchamos.
Oh, hello, what are you? Sorry. Ms. Spencer, the language of our country is called Papimento. Not Spanish at all. Also, if can I share my screen? Let me, if I still, do you still see my screen?
No, aún no.
Okay. Okay, I just will say that some words have English translations, but most of them don't have it because it's a work in progress. But our goal is to have at least Dutch, English, Spanish, and maybe German as translations in the Banco de Palabra. You should be able to look up any word in the Papiamento language in the Banco de Palabra and also find translations of it. But the pictures also have their scientific name. So all the plants and all the animals, they have the scientific name. So you can use that to find the translation back in your own language.
¿Sería este entonces el fin de la presentación? No escuché bien.
Yes, this is a very short presentation. I only showed you the 3 or 4 things that we have made, and I explained the difference that some of them are really open educational resources. Okay, thank you, gracias.
No, muchísimas gracias a usted porque nos presenta ejemplos concretos de iniciativas que primero son muy relevantes en el ámbito. Al principio teníamos un ejemplo relacionado con el ámbito de la educación superior. Ahora hemos transitado hacia iniciativas que por ejemplo, beneficiarían a otros grupos, pero que además tienen un elemento muy relevante, que es la promoción del multilingüismo también, y que al mismo tiempo ofrecen la oportunidad, en tantos recursos educativos abiertos que son, de reutilización, de adaptación y tal para cualquier otra lengua. Entonces, es bien interesante esto, y también creo que a nivel de factura, a nivel de presentación del contenido, pues también es una propuesta muy interesante, muy relevante, y le agradecemos muchísimo. Yo quisiera ahora pasar la palabra a la representante de Guyana, a Kim Spencer, quien ha estado trabajando en el sector de educación por más de 30 años ya, y en el campo de la tecnología por 17 años. Comenzó su carrera en educación inicial y enseñó a nivel de enseñanza primaria, secundaria y a nivel terciario. Ella obtuvo un bachelor en educación y una certificación en ciencias de la computación, educación digital y tecnologías de la información y la comunicación para el buen gobierno. Sus principales responsabilidades como especialista en el tema de tecnología son apoyar a sus pares y a agencias pares y hermanas en la toma de decisiones asociadas a temas de la tecnología, al desarrollo de políticas, coordinar la elaboración de las guías de currículum nacional en el ámbito de la tecnología para las escuelas secundarias. También aborda temas de formación de docentes en la integración de la tecnología, y también de recursos educativos abiertos en la provisión de contenidos. Entonces, estamos encantados también de tener acá a Kim Spencer, y le damos entonces la palabra. ¿Usted pasa sus propias slides o necesitamos ayuda de nuestro amigo Paul?
Thank you, everyone. Can I share my screen, please? Right. Oops. Let me see. Can you see my screen? You see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. What I have prepared is I have looked at the main points in how we use OER in Guyana, or the way forward that we are going to do the OER. First of all, we have to have our educators properly trained in the licensing and the content creation for OER. So in that, we started from the groundwork, and we have started that in earnest as of this year. We have trained so far, we have targeted our teachers who are actively in the classroom so that all the OER content would be relevant and appropriate for the learners. So far, we have completed training for 1,500 primary school teachers and educators. We have 110 nursery teachers and approximately 130 secondary school teachers trained or exposed to OER content creation and licensing. We have also started working with the special education needs branch of the Ministry of Education. So that will also include the differently abled and those with the special education needs. Emphasis is being placed on the integration of the existing curriculums and modules to enhance the curriculum delivery. So what we have done, we have infused, we are currently working on a new curriculum. It's called the Renewed and Enhanced Curriculum for Guyana. So what we have done, we have infused heavily OER usage in these curriculums so that it will be disseminated in the school year coming, 2023, in the entire primary schools, and we're going to have some of them piloted in the secondary and the nursery sector. What we have done, we have tried to target a selection of the schools or the educational entities in Guyana, in that we have looked at the hinterland and the far-reaching regions so that we can test connectivity to see how our content would affect learners or stakeholders with minimum to no connectivity, so that we would have a widespread of the content. The OER uses would have skyrocketed during the pandemic for us, in that we relied on the government media. We have the Ministry of Education has their own television station and radio station. So what we would have done, we would have actually used local content for the dissemination of content for nursery, primary, and secondary levels. And to some extent, the Teachers Training College. The Teachers Training College would have started, which is the Sir Porter College of Education. They have embarked on the creation of a Moodle, using the Moodle platform with the help of Commonwealth of Learning and National Center for Education Resource Development, which is a branch of Ministry of Education where I'm attached to. We have also started our Moodle services for all educators. It is not just for active teachers. So we're going to have content also that would be relevant to persons in the medical arena and technical arenas. We have done this in collaboration again with Commonwealth of Learning. We have started our repository, however, because we are still in the sensitization and capacity building stage, we have not uploaded that for international use. It is just segmented to the Guyanese populace. So what, in essence, what we're doing, we're sharing it internally so that we can come up with a workable and solid content to place in the international repository. For the sustainability, what we have also done is that our ICT policy, it supports OER, of course, and digital literacy. And we, in terms of having incentives for the creators of OERs, we have infused that again with the curriculum writing team. So teachers, educators, and stakeholders, they are given a stipend for content creation. So along with that, the content creation would be inclusive of OER content, both digital and both electronic and non-electronic, to cover both areas that have connectivity and no connectivity. Additionally, what we are in the process of also doing is we have several dialects, so to speak, from the Amerindians in Guyana. So we are actually doing some work to have content available in the dialects. For example, we have Warao and Wapishiano. But it must be emphasized that the national language for Guyana is English, and everyone speaks English. But it is just to have these dialects available for the deep hinterland areas so that we would have a deeper relationship with the different dialects and languages available in Guyana. This brings me, I hope I was on time and I did not overstep my time. So I am open to questions and comments from my colleagues. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, doctora Spencer, ha estado fantástica con el tiempo. Y también creo que es muy interesante en el caso de esta presentación y que continúa añadiendo a la discusión que podemos tener al final de la sesión, la expresión concreta en entornos locales de políticas nacionales de tecnologías de la información y la comunicación y alfabetización digital, pero que necesitan una concreción en prácticas específicas que es muy relevante. Por otra parte, yo creo que también aquí es de destacar también esto que ustedes han considerado, que tiene que ver con el desarrollo de incentivos también para los creadores. Es decir, son elementos que es importante traer a la discusión cuando de desarrollo de los recursos educativos abiertos se trata. Muchísimas gracias. Les comentaba en el chat que este es el espacio para poner sus preguntas y sus comentarios, de modo que los podamos compilar y tener una sesión rápida de preguntas y respuestas al final de la sesión. Para concluir justamente esta parte, quisiéramos invitar a Tony Mays, quien es el especialista en educación actualmente del Open Schooling de la Commonwealth of Learning en Vancouver, Canadá. Y también es el asociado editor del Journal of Learning for Development. Fue presidente de la Asociación Nacional de Educación a Distancia y Aprendizaje Abierto en Sudáfrica. También fue el tesorero honorario de la Asociación de Educación a Distancia de África del Sur, y también fue el presidente de la conferencia de educación de docentes en el tema de la educación a distancia. Tony tiene un doctorado en educación en estudios curriculares de la Universidad de Sudáfrica y le damos la bienvenida para que comparta sus experiencias en este espacio. Adelante, Tony.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to make a presentation.
Sí lo escuchamos, lo que perdimos fue la pantalla. ¿Me escucha, Tony?
My apologies, something strange happened to my Zoom. I have to start again, I think.
Sí, adelante.
Okay, thank you. I think we're here. So over the last 3 years, we probably have worked in one way or another with most of the Commonwealth members in the Caribbean. But with a specific focus on OER, we've worked with these 6 countries. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we've done. In most of the work we do is around capacity building. So a lot of workshops and training related to understanding OER. So in this case, we've worked with St. Lucia with a fairly small group of people. And also in Antigua and Barbuda with a slightly larger group. These are kind of like advocacy and orientation to OER kind of workshops. But in some countries, we've gone a step further and not only advocated OER, but supported the development of content. So for example, in Belize, they're currently piloting some of the OER that they have created in 15 schools. We will be helping them with an evaluation of that pilot early next year. Similarly, in Guyana, we've just heard from our colleague in Guyana, we have started a conversation with the ministry, but we have been working outside of that with the Adult Education Association in Guyana for the last 2 years. And they have developed some courses in Moodle, which they're currently piloting. And we have started a conversation that as they finalize that content after piloting, how we can publish it as open textbooks to share more widely. Obviously, when we're working and developing all this OER, one of the good things about it is that once it's finalized and properly licensed, we can share it with other organizations or countries that are in need. So for example, in the Bahamas, after the cyclone, we were able to help them with sharing OER using Cole's Aptus device, which allows access to digital content offline. So these are some of the kinds of things that are nice spin-offs of doing this sort of work. What we found over the last 4 or 5 years, we've been working with several different countries in the Caribbean and the Pacific and in Africa to develop curriculum-based OER for schooling. That typically takes about 1 to 2 years before we get some content that we're ready to pilot. Because if you think that for a school subject, it's usually about 120 hours of learning, which usually is going to take at least 360 hours of development time. So if you have one teacher who has to develop all the content, it might take them 2 years to find the time to fit that in around their other duties. If you can get a team together and split up the curriculum with maybe 4 people, you might be able to get it done in 1 year. Then, as also from our colleague in Guyana who just spoke, usually at that point, the country is not yet ready to share openly. They want to pilot the content with their own learners and their own teachers to make sure that it meets the curriculum needs, it meets the needs of learners. So we might get to piloting only in year 2 or 3 of our engagement with a partner. So it will only be in years 3 to 4 that they might be in a position where they want to share that content. It's been piloted to share it nationally. And only about that point at which they would be willing to share it internationally as a fully openly licensed set of resources. So typically for me, when I enter into an agreement or a memorandum of understanding with a ministry, I'm looking at a 4-year process, sometimes a bit longer. To give an example of a sort of focus in on one particular country, we were doing this kind of work with Trinidad and Tobago. They developed a whole lot of content around 2019, 2020, and they are now piloting that content online. I'll give you a little bit more information about that. But we also partnered with the ministry during COVID to offer a short course on open educational resources for online learning, an introduction. And this was an attempt to try and help the ministry during the pandemic to ensure continuity of learning by empowering lots of teachers with where they could find OER and reuse it, where they could find other kinds of platforms or tools that would help them to move, sort of like emergency remote teaching, move from classroom to online. So we reached quite a substantial number of teachers in that collaboration. And the ministry has continued to build on that with their own in-house workshops and training. For COL, as I said, a lot of our work is around capacity building. And we have this course, Understanding Open Educational Resources. When I checked the other day, we'd had 25,613 people from around the world who had taken the course. So it just goes to show that there is enduring interest. I can't tell you how many of those come from the Caribbean. But in the Caribbean, the work we've done with Trinidad and Tobago, they have chosen to work with a platform called NotesMaster. When I checked yesterday, they have so far drafted 2,659 lesson level resources, which they're currently piloting. And you've got the different subjects there and how many resources they have developed to date. These are not yet fully licensed. You can access them, you can see them. But once they finish the pilot, they will do some more tweaking. And then they will finalize with the references and the licensing. And it will be possible for teachers who go into the platform to copy and adapt within the platform, or for other users, whether they're learners or teachers, to go in and download a Word version of the document that can be edited for use or adaptation in other places. The nice thing about the Caribbean is that you have a shared kind of curriculum through the Caribbean Examinations Council. So a lot of resources, especially around the English, the maths, the sciences, can be fairly easily reversioned. So have a look at it. I will put the links to both the Understanding OER course as well as the OER library. Apart from the Trinidad and Tobago materials there, you'll find about 20,000 resources from other countries. So have a look also maybe at the recent material from Malawi, which has gone through this full process, and those are now fully openly licensed. So OER, along with ODL and TEL, are kind of central to the work that we do in the Commonwealth of Learning. Our primary focus, as I said, is capacity building, and that will continue to be the case as we help our partners at institutional level and at ministry level to recover from the pandemic and to become more resilient, because it's not going to be the last time that schools get closed. So thank you very much. I hope that's useful to you. As I said, I'll put the links in the chat.
Muchísimas gracias, Tony. Muy interesante una experiencia ya de tan larga data con resultados también tan palpables. Bueno, este es el momento para hacer preguntas a nuestros panelistas, una pequeñísima sesión, pero queríamos, ya que tenemos la oportunidad de haber tenido estos comentarios en primera persona, ¿no? Del trabajo que se ha hecho en estos países en torno a la promoción y el desarrollo de los recursos educativos abiertos, que por lo menos tuviéramos el espacio, unos 5 minutos máximo, 10, para compartir estas ideas. Así que, por favor, no veo preguntas en el chat, así que pueden levantar la mano y preguntar a nuestros panelistas. Por cierto, Tony nos está compartiendo recursos en el chat, también pueden acceder a ellos. ¿Tenemos alguna pregunta, alguna precisión? Bueno, no veo a nadie con la mano levantada. Les recomiendo entonces que sigan pendientes de la información y los recursos que se van conectando, que se van colgando en el chat. Y bueno, en este caso entonces quiero dar la palabra a mi colega Paul, que estará moderando la siguiente sesión.
All right. Thank you very much, Elena. And thank you also to all of the participants, the panelists who shared your experiences during the last session. So we're now in the fourth session. It's perhaps the crux of why we're here, along with my colleague Zainab, who will be walking you through the questionnaire, looking a bit into the structure of the questionnaire, giving pointers as to sources of information. You know, I hope everyone has maybe a notebook or something close by. This is really going to be key. Zainab, I pass the floor back over to you, and I have your let's see, I'll just bring your presentation up on screen. And then you just guide me, you know, which you know, as we go through it. Okay. You seeing the slide? No, I think it's the wrong thing. 1 second. I'll just open it up. Okay. All right. Is everyone seeing the screen? The questionnaire?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you. So Zainab, over to you. Okay, let's give Zainab a moment. She got disconnected. She's rejoining. So let's see, maybe we can just use this opportunity. If there's anyone yet who still hasn't had the opportunity to introduce themselves, or if there's anyone who would like to make any comments, please do so while we wait for Zainab to reconnect. I can't see hands if you raise hands, so just continue, please.
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead, Jean.
Yes, I'm finding this excitingly interesting as a teacher for very, very long years. One of the things, the aspect I'm interested in is resources and materials that we use for making teaching relevant to the students who are learning. In the Caribbean, we have inherited an English system through colonization. And it is my quarrel that a lot of what we used to teach is not appropriate to the lives of the students we have in front of us. So this aspect of resources and materials and relevance to the lives of our people is what interests me to a great extent. I haven't heard a lot of discussion about how you make this appropriate for learning. Thank you. That's just my comment.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jean. I don't know if anyone might wish to shed light. But let me also just update you on one thing. So Zainab, she's asked me to start sharing her presentation and going through it, and then she will jump. She will then jump in as we move on. Is there anyone who would like to give a response to what Ms. Jean Small just shared about having content which is more, let's say, maybe culturally, contextually adapted to countries and nations? Okay, well, let's see. We'll come back to this. Maybe what I will do is let me just move ahead with the presentation from Zainab. Okay, and I'll try to do my best here. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, great. So this segment, we're looking really into this whole aspect of the questionnaire, going through it, the different elements, unpacking it, so we can, really do justice in responding to the to this exercise. So as you heard, earlier we talked about this monitoring process. It started in June 2020. It's part of the actions which, for any UNESCO recommendation, any UNESCO normative instrument, every 4 years, there is a sort of an assessment as to what has been done, what has been achieved, what has been accomplished. And so we have the same process going on. So it was initiated in June 2022. The Director General formally communicated to all member states, and then laid out a sort of time frame for achieving responses. So member states have been given about 7 months to return their views on the implementation within their country. So from June 2022 to January 2023. And the deadline is 31st January for submitting responses. And of course, the length of time given reflects, of course, the sort of depth which we expect that countries would perhaps go into in terms of doing their own national and internal reviews. Of course, once countries submit, there will be a need for doing data analysis. Of course, 193 member states, plus also associated member states, it means there's a lot of review to be done. And so we see this entire process, which we expect to complete in January 2023. And then of course, the outcomes would then inform next steps, what UNESCO is doing. So as was heard, the responses, the submissions should take place in one of the 2 working languages of UNESCO, so English or French. And on the screen, you can see the link to the document, which contains the detailed instructions and also the resolution by member states on implementing this work. So here you can see it's just the letter which was sent out and which we saw earlier during the first presentation. So I won't stay very long on this, but let's look at the questionnaire now in a bit of detail. Now, some things to really note. Oops, I'm sorry. Some things to note. As you can see here, we provide 2 approaches for making your submission. Firstly, you can do this directly online using a survey link. And of course, this is very fast, both in terms of for you and also for the organizations in terms of the data analysis. Of course, you can also complete the questionnaire electronically on the PDF form, and then of course send this to the email indicated below, oerrecommendation@unesco.org. Now, I just really want to impress on you that these are the only 2 modalities. It's not to send the questionnaire to field offices. Yes, field offices can, for example, perhaps give you some initial feedback, but the 2 official channels for your submission to be considered is 1, online through that link, or secondly, by sending the questionnaire to that email. So it's very, very important. Yes, we're really keen to get your inputs, but again, since we're dealing with 193 member states and plus an additional, I think 12 associate members, we try to sort of harmonize and keep it a bit short. So 15 pages, and this does not include annexes. And here when I talk about annexes, very often, for example, you might want to include, let's say, a policy document. The government has developed maybe an ICT policy. You might wish to make reference to that. So that can be included. That's not included in that 15-page limit. Okay, Zeynep, you're here.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm
Yes.
having a really bad technology day today. It's really, really a bad technology day. I'm very sorry. Now I'm online, so I keep talking and while I can stay here. So you've gone through, you showed, I think the slide you showed before, the whole principle of this presentation is that just to show you how simple this is really going to be. You have, I think you mentioned that there's 2 ways to implement, to send the information. Okay, if you go to the next slide, you'll see what they look like. Okay, the next slide is what happens if you click on the link. It's online. And you're very welcome to use this, and we encourage you to use it. And it's the same questions all the time. But if there is a problem and you can't use it, please go ahead. Transparent. This is one of the first instances. Well, this is the first reporting of this recommendation, and most of the other recommendations, other reportings are done through the Word format for other instruments, and it's really okay if you want to use it. If you go to the next one, next slide. Okay, the next slide shows you what the what the questionnaire looks like when you just open it up. This is from the document that you get at the link that we just showed you. It's really small, but it's not the end of the world.
Let's see. Zeynep, are you there? Okay, it seems as if Zeynep has a connection issue. So what I will do is I'll continue until she rejoins. Okay, so Zeynep, are you back? Okay, so we start off with basically just general information, and then as you saw earlier, there are 5 distinct aspects of the recommendation: capacity building, policy, inclusivity, multilingualism, and quality of OER, sustainability, and international collaboration. Okay, Zeynep is saying that she has some challenges, so she's asked me to continue. So here, and then so you can see the question, the structure. All right, so let me advance. Okay, now for each of these areas, there is a sort of a yes and no option. If it's a case that you're able to reply yes, then it's very important to provide some details and hyperlinks, you know, to let's say, for example, websites, documents, etc., which could further you know, shed more light on the context in which you're operating. This is really key. So for example, if your country has used OER, you know, to meet the educational challenges in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's the case, you say yes. And then you know, what are some of the things that you've done? Maybe some links to statistics indicating the number of persons who benefited from this, you know, other reports, which ministries were involved. Was this something which happened at just the primary level? Was it at secondary level, a university, etc.? So all of those things really add to it. So I move to the next slide. So again, capacity building. Again, you know, as we've heard before, it's all to do with several areas. Understanding the added value, having also the know-how to actually, you know, create, access, reuse, and redistribute OERs, to use various tools, and of course, interoperability. So basically, you'd work through it following the sort of workflow here. So have stakeholders build their capacities to, you know, access, reuse, adapt, and redistribute OER. So if that is the case, then, you know, you then of course provide those links as we've mentioned. It continues. What about awareness raising activities? Have they taken place? And again, of course, you know, you indicate, and of course, it would be good to understand how many people, which parts of the country. Has it just been within the cities? Has this been something which also extended to rural areas? Which are the groups whose awareness have been raised? Is it teachers? Is it, you know, agricultural workers? We saw earlier an example from Cuba where a lot of OERs were being used within the context of the healthcare system. So, you know, which other systems have been involved? So it's really important to indicate this. Again, you know, going into more details, you know, are these programs being rolled out? How many have taken place? With respect to your national plans, is there something like that? Is it foreseen that you'll have repositories where these materials can be held? And if so, please, you know, share the link. And again, 2.4, we see has capacity building interventions focus on the use or development of OER repositories and tools? So you can see here that all of these questions, they all link back to these core critical areas of the recommendation. So I continue. In a similar way, the aspect of policy is interrogated again, looking at the various aspects. So here we talk about things like procurement models. Is there some sort of guideline which says that when the government is procuring textbooks, procuring software, etc., these things must respect open licensing? What sort of guidelines and standards do we have at the national or institutional level? Have we put in place policies which encourage teachers to develop, to use OERs and to disseminate them? And to what extent are we aligning all national policies with other policies in the area of open licensing? So open access, open data, open source software, open science, and of course, whenever data comes into play, we heard earlier at the beginning about the importance of human rights. Data protection, of course, it's key. So again, we walk through the process in a similar way, looking at these specific questions, and then also trying to identify specific laws which can, which are provisions which relate to this. And of course, if it is a case that a particular document is not available online, then it will be very important to at least cite, to state the name of the particular policy, the year it's been created, and perhaps maybe a reference to the particular article within that policy, which indicates or which refers to the particular question. So yes, so I will move on to the other area. Again, quality, multilingual, and inclusive OER. And again, looking at this whole aspect of availability, moving beyond just English. We heard, for example, in the presentation from Guyana, Ms. Spence, she talked about the work that was being done in terms of developing OERs for persons living in the hinterland, where you had a number of Amerindian groups living. So again, looking at this particular issue. And of course, if there are OERs created in national languages, then of course it is very important for us to understand which languages, how many of these languages, have OERs been developed for, where they are. And of course, there's limited space in the document. As you've heard, there's a 15-page limit. So that is why it's very important to, again, link to other types of resources, indicating through a hyperlink, for example, where we can find this additional information from other sources. Again, coming back to Guyana, where the specific situation of the hinterlands was raised. Are there OER available for use in low or no connectivity contexts? So again, 4.2, a very, very important issue, which of course links to the whole aspect of access. Has it been contextualized for local socioeconomic and cultural contexts? How has this been done? What are the links? What sources can we use to further substantiate your response? We heard quality is a very key aspect. What sort of quality assurance criteria for OER exists? And finally, of course, what sort of research and studies have been undertaken or which are planned to be taken in this area? So again, it's also important to recognize that no single department will perhaps have all of the answers to these questions. So it's very important that we see this as an opportunity to reach out to other partners, maybe at universities, maybe other departments of government, maybe even different departments within the education sector, so that we can get that sort of holistic overview of the national context. So we come to the fourth point: sustainability, development, maintenance of traditional and non-traditional sustainability models, with the principle that end users and teachers don't shoulder the cost of the learning materials. Yes, there's always a cost involved, but how do we make sure that we can sustainably support this? This is a very important question. What are the sort of incentives which we are providing to stakeholders to use OERs? And here we have a number of questions. Again, what is being done to nurture the creation of sustainability models? 5.1, have OER sustainability models, in particular those that foresee the cost of accessing educational materials, been developed? And so I think this is a very, very important area. And I must say that this is one of the areas which is quite challenging. Various regions have found challenges in this. So it's really important for you to shed light on your local situation, your local context, what has worked, what isn't working. And of course, as I said, to provide links to the various relevant resources. And so now we come to the sort of last area, and which looks at the whole aspect of international collaboration across these four areas. We heard the Commonwealth of Learning talking about the work that they've been doing in terms of sharing experiences across countries. I referred, for example, to the workshop they organized in St. Lucia, which brought together something like participants from around 14 countries. So you see the Commonwealth of Learning, working with various governments, bringing together various persons so across countries, so that of course we can have that exchange of experience in particular areas, the creation or the potential for the creation of communities of practice, networks of exchange, and so forth. So again, a very, very important area. And we sort of dig down. The first one asks the question about, has your country or institution signed agreements or other collaborative mechanisms, including for funding, to co-develop and or share OER through inter-institutional, national, regional, and or international cooperation? Now, so if that is the case, please indicate the resources. But then if at the same time your country has not yet done this, I think it's very important to flag this as an area for perhaps follow-up, an area for exploration going forwards. And again, we're here, we heard earlier about the OER Dynamic Coalition. This is a global community of practice which UNESCO has established. So if you're currently not involved in any, this would be a very good opportunity to reach out to such entities, so that you can then move forward in looking at how could you sign agreements to sort of formalize this whole process of international cooperation. It continues, have specific clauses related to OER being incorporated in international agreements concerned with cooperation in the field of education. I think all countries have participated or have followed the work on the work being done as a follow-up to, of course, SDG 4, and more recently, the work around the Transforming Education Summit. And there, the whole aspect of digital public goods, digital gateways for learning, this has been emphasized. So I think it is very important that this is something which you flag, and perhaps within your ministries, you also point out to the importance of incorporating aspects relating to OER in the sort of funding arrangements, agreements that might be presented to various bilateral or multilateral donors and partners by your governments. And then finally, it asks the question about peer networks. Are there peer networks that share OER based on areas such as subject matter, language, institutions, and so forth? Do these exist? Again, if that is not the case in your country, this represents an area where you can extend your work in terms of reinforcing the overall ecosystem, the overall conditions for making sure that OERs succeed and that they play a very important role, or rather important contribution to this sort of socioeconomic and other developments within your education system, and also beyond the education system. So that brings me pretty much to the end of the presentation. Of course, if Zeynep is able to get back on, I'm sure she will be very happy to jump in and share. Zeynep, are you back on? Okay, it doesn't seem to be the case. So at this point, let me open up and I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have. If you can just signal by raising your hand, I'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you. Anyone? Any questions? And oh, okay, I see. Yes, okay, Jean Small. I think this is probably your hand which you raised earlier, but
Yeah.
if not, okay, this is the hand you raised earlier.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, any other questions about about the submission process, the modalities? Any specific questions that you might have seen that you might want a little more elaboration about? Okay, I see. No, I don't see any more hands. So again, yes, please. Yes,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Paul. So for clarification, it seems this would be very challenging to have done by the end of next month. And who should the responsible person be? The ministry, the NatCom, focal point? If there is no focal point, how do you go about doing this?
Okay, great. So based on UNESCO's setup, so typically this would have gone out to the member state. Very often it's the NatComs who would receive this, and then of course the NatComs, they serve a sort of a coordination body as a coordination or focal role. So perhaps again, depending on how your country is set up, I mean, countries, their configuration of ministries tend to differ. So for example, you may have, in some countries, you may have, for example, a Ministry of Youth and Sports. In others, it might be just a Ministry of Education, which is working on that particular area. So then, first and foremost, I think the education, that will be one to contact. Some countries have, one looking at maybe research and one at maybe secondary and primary education. So of course, in that case, it would be important to reach out to both of those. As we can see also, OERs, it also impacts on things like copyright. So there are certain legal aspects. So perhaps there may be some activities going on which might be contained in ministries that deal with legal matters, legal affairs. We've seen also the reference to procurement. So in many cases, there might be a central agency which sets the rules and the terminologies, the parameters for government procurement. So it would be important to also reach out to those groups as well. And then of course, at the end, there's this, it's very important to have this sort of consolidation. And I should also, it's also add, even within the education system, we have, for example, persons who might be in the pre-primary level. We may have primary level, secondary, tertiary, and then also the sort of lifelong learning. Also within that, we, in some cases, we have specialized institutions which are looking at teacher training. So we heard, for example, I think in the case of Guyana, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Guyana, they had undertaken specific actions where through these teacher training institutions, they were looking at building the capacity of teachers to use OER. So it's not really something which is designed as, let's say, just one person filling everything out. One person might need to consolidate every, but ideally it should be within a sort of a team approach. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand. So that would. No, go ahead.
Oh, and of course, Eleanor, myself, Zainab, we are of course very happy to give feedback to you, and I think it's really important to underline something here. Although it is a UNESCO recommendation, this is a recommendation of member states. It was the member states who unanimously adopted this. Another point which is important, although UNESCO asks countries every 4 years to report on what has been done, this is the most important beneficiary of this work is actually the country itself. Because by doing this sort of stock taking, going through this checklist, digging down, what are the reports? Where are which are the key documents? Which are the institutions which are involved in this process? That really gives a lot of internal insight into things like, what are we doing well? Where do we need to improve? And then, of course, what can we share with others? What can we learn from others? So this is a very important stock-taking exercise for the country itself. And again, if we think about where we are, today we're hearing people talk about things like digital transformation, the importance of knowledge, the knowledge economy. These are the things which, the ability to create content, to use content, these are things which are really key to developing human capital, human capacity, and enabling us to really advance on a social level and on an economic level. So this is an exercise which countries should see as an investment. It's not just ticking boxes and filling. It's really something which is very, very crucial, very, very important.
Yeah, understood.
And of course, that is why we're here today. We want to make sure that you all do well. So yeah, your countries do well. Yeah, and please feel free to call on us. I am happy to take another 1, 2, 3 questions, and then I'll hand over to Eleanor for the sort of wrap up. Okay, I don't see any hands, so I'll just say like the folks at the auctions, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, so over to you, Eleanor.
Gracias, Paul. Bueno, yo creo que hemos tenido una sesión muy relevante para comprender un poco más sobre el entorno de nuestra región en lo que a desarrollo de recursos educativos abiertos respecta. Empezando por un encuadre de estos marcos que nos ofrece la recomendación sobre este tema, la recomendación de la UNESCO, sobre recursos educativos abiertos, pasando luego por un análisis, una presentación de experiencias puntuales, pero que son experiencias de las que todos podemos beber, ¿no? Y es el sentido de traerlas y de compartirlas aquí en este marco más amplio. Y luego esta sesión donde de manera más específica se han ido abordando los elementos concretos que pide esta encuesta de monitoreo. Algunas de las personas que nos están acompañando hoy aquí estuvieron participando en una primera reunión que las oficinas de Kingston y La Habana organizamos en justamente diciembre del año pasado, cuando estábamos lanzando una iniciativa de recursos educativos abiertos para el Caribe. Y quienes estuvieron allí recordarán que uno de los pasos que teníamos previsto era precisamente comprender hasta dónde los países habían podido avanzar en el desarrollo de este tipo de recursos. Cuando UNESCO lanzó entonces a nivel ya de sede esta encuesta de monitoreo, bueno, pues sencillamente tomamos la decisión de no elaborar un instrumento particular porque en definitiva no iba a variar demasiado con respecto a esta encuesta global, y que lo que podíamos hacer era trabajar de conjunto con ustedes para lograr estos espacios de intercambio y para lograr que la mayor cantidad posible de los pequeños estados insulares en desarrollo del Caribe respondan a esta encuesta, porque nos puede ayudar muchísimo a ajustar a las iniciativas, a pensar nuevos caminos de apoyo. Yo ahí quiero enfatizar en algo que de alguna manera ya mencionaba Paul. Como ustedes conocen, cuando UNESCO lanza este tipo de encuestas de implementación de recomendaciones y tal, no busca de ninguna manera establecer rankings, ni quién está mejor, ni quién está peor. Jamás es esa la intención de la UNESCO. La intención es precisamente obtener una mirada lo más amplia posible a dónde están los avances, dónde están las brechas, y por lo tanto que esos resultados nos lleven a una discusión ulterior que tiene que ver con el qué y el cómo. Como organización nosotros podemos apoyar, porque en definitiva ese es nuestro mandato y ese es nuestro sentido, apoyar a nuestros Estados miembros a impulsar todo este tipo de iniciativas. Entonces, a manera de resumen, dos cosas. Primero, gracias por estar en esta sesión en el día de hoy en nombre de la oficina de Kingston y de la oficina de La Habana. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo. Yo creo que es muy relevante que podamos seguir teniendo este tipo de espacios. Esperamos ansiosamente sus respuestas a esta encuesta global. Y tercero, que creo que es lo más importante, estamos a entera disposición de todos los países para apoyar en lo que sea necesario en este proceso que todavía queda en principio, para responder este cuestionario. Si hay preguntas, si hay necesidad de clarificar elementos, estamos disponibles. Ustedes nos pueden contactar para proveer la asistencia que esté en nuestras manos ofrecerles. Y bueno, esperemos entonces también que una vez que se haya hecho el trabajo de compilación de estos resultados, pues podamos tener, Paul, un nuevo espacio para discutir estos resultados, para conversar, para dialogar y para de conjunto entonces con nuestros Estados miembros y con los expertos de la región, pues poder trazar esas pautas que en definitiva eso es lo que nos interesa, lograr cada vez más un paso más hacia adelante en el desarrollo de este tema en nuestra área de mundo. Paul, si tienes algo que agregar.
The only thing I would add is just to, we're coming up to the end of the year. So again, I'd like to wish everyone, all the best for the coming, Christmas season, and, continued success in 2023. And please know that Eleanor, myself, our colleagues at headquarters and everywhere else, we're here, we're committed to working with you. And yeah, we're in it for the long run. So please, don't hesitate to call on us, to count on us for support. Thank you. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you.
Excuse me, please. The poll is not allowing us to put in a response.
Sí, adelante.
Let's see.
Creo que alguien quería hacer un comentario.
It's okay, Paula Reed shared it.
Yeah, but it's somehow it's not letting us put anything into the poll. I don't know what's happening.
It's because your co-host have to disengage
Okay.
you.
I
Just
see,
hold
I see.
on.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So okay, so maybe it's better to move the others out to the poll, those who aren't one of the panelists. Yeah, initially. Yes. Yes.
A la encuesta.
We can try again now.
All right. So so okay, so are you okay. So folks, are you able to click in the poll? Let us know, please, if you're able to
I am not sure how to access it again. I'm here looking for it further down on the screen. I'm not able to get
so
that.
so perhaps if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button marked participants Q&A, and then there's one called poll. If you click on it, then the poll should come up. Yeah.
It's not visible for mine. Not there.
I think maybe you have to click the screen, the bottom of the screen with your mouse, and then it will probably pop up.
Still non-successful.
No.
I'm not seeing that at all.
Yeah, it's not there. But I did try. Can it be sent to us by email, and then we can respond that way? I think you want to get feedback from the presentations and what was discussed today. So therefore, please send it, and I will respond.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, we will do that. We will do that. And just to let you know, the recordings will be available, and also the PowerPoints which were shared. We'll make sure that this is available, and it will be hosted both on the Kingston and also the Havana site. We also had some translations prepared in Dutch, in Papiamento, in English, French, Spanish, etc. So those will also be available there. And as you know, Tony, he shared some resources. If there are other resources that people are aware of, we're most welcome to have them. So thank you all. Elena, back over to you. And we should thank all.
Bueno, yo por mi parte no
interpreters.
tengo nada más que agregar, sino de nuevo agradecerles a todas las personas que se han unido hoy su participación. Y bueno, de nuevo, estamos disponibles para apoyarles en lo que sea necesario en el proceso de completamiento de la encuesta. Y bueno, y ojalá que después de esto y después de ese análisis de los resultados podamos de nuevo tener un encuentro y trazar los caminos comunes para seguir avanzando en estos temas. Muchísimas gracias y un saludo.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. All right. Yeah.